Hello. Today we're going to go over how to adjust the levels menu, to use the straighten tool, and use the crop tool. So for almost any photo, a quick levels adjustment will make your photo far better than the original. So if you press Control and the letter L on your keyboard, your levels menu will show up on the screen. Now, if your levels menu shows up in the middle of the screen, you want to be able to see the changes that you make as you use this tool. So you're going to click here at the top, click and hold it, and you're just going to simply move it out of the way. So in the middle of this tool is this graph, and this graph represents all the light data that is in your photo, from the darkest parts of your photo to the lightest parts of your photo, and all those areas, those shadow or gray areas in between. Now we're going to move these sliders. We are never going to move the output sliders. It's always the sliders that are right underneath the graph. Now as you see on my photo, the mountain ends here, the graph data, but the light bar, the lightest parts of the photo, is way out here. So the first thing you want to do is you're going to click and hold one of the sliders, either the lightest one or the darkest one, because sometimes there's no data over here, but it's all kind of bunched up on the other side. It just depends on the photo. So I'm going to take my brightness slider, the white one, and I'm going to move it to the very beginning of the mountain. And you see that the photo is improved dramatically by just adding more light to it. Now I can move it inside the mountain if I want to, but you'll notice that the colors and the pier just start to become washed out and it becomes too bright. So the first place you want to stop is at the beginning of the mountain. Now since I've got some dark areas of the photo here, I just want to play around with this to see what it looks like. So I'm going to click the black slider and I'm going to start to move it in, and you'll notice that the dark areas of the photo become darker. Now what happens is if you move this and you move it too far, notice that the colors start to become unnatural or oversaturated, and you don't want that in your photo. So this is not making any improvement in my photo. It actually hurts my photo. So I'm going to move the slider back to its original position. Now I'm also going to play with the gray slider, and if I move it to the left, the shadow areas become brighter, and if I move it to the right, the shadow areas become darker. I don't think that's really made much of an improvement over my original photo, so I'm just going to leave that back in its original spot. Now if you totally mess this up, don't feel bad, because you can just click this reset button here and all the settings go back to the way they were, and you can just start to move the sliders again like you did in the original photo. If you want to see what your photo looked like before you made the adjustments, you can just uncheck this checkbox next to preview, and if you uncheck it, it will show you the original photo, and then you check it again and it will show you your changed photo. And if you're happy with these changes, which I am, I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to move on to the next step. Now you'll notice that I held my camera, when I held my camera it was tilted to the right, and this whole thing is it's tilted, and I want to fix that. And what you want to look for in your photo is some sort of landmark in the background or the line of a building that should be straight and it's not. So in my case right here, this part of the land back here is all tilted, and so is the water. So that's easy to spot. So I'm going to click my straighten tool, which is right over here, and you'll notice that I get a little plus mark. That is my straighten tool cursor, and I'm going to move to an area that I know that should be straight that's not. I'm going to click and hold, and I'm going to draw a line, and I'm going to draw it in about the same direction as the thing that needs to be straight. And you'll notice that it is now straight. I hit it on the first time. Now my photo is straight. If it's not, you can just go back up to the undo button, click undo, and start it again, because sometimes you'll move it in the wrong direction and it becomes more tilted. Now what you want to avoid, if that happens, what you want to avoid is straightening it a second time. You want to undo it first to get your whole picture back, and then you're going to draw the line the opposite direction. There we go. Now we're straight. Beautiful. So what I may want to do now is do some cropping. Maybe there's some areas of my photo that I don't want to have in there. So my crop tool is located right over here. So I click my crop tool, and I click and hold. I'm going to start at a corner. I'm going to click and hold. I draw my crop tool over the entire photo, and now I can grab these middle. These are called bounding boxes, but if you hover your mouse and you get this back and forth double arrow, you can move them in, and you might be able to move them up a little, or you can move them down or on the other side. If you like the change that's going to happen, and what you'll end up with is the area that's all lit up, that's what your photo will look like in the end, you're going to click the green check mark, and that changes your photo. If you don't like this, and I don't, I'm going to undo it, and I'm just going to leave it the way that it is. So I've just showed you how to use your levels menu, your straighten tool, and your crop tool.